Hi everybody, Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Today I just wanted to show you a little folio I made for my daughter's lacrosse team. She is a freshman playing lacrosse at college this year, and we love being able to cheer for the team, but I don't know anybody yet. So I made this little folio that included the roster of the girls and their numbers so that when they're playing I can cheer for them. And then I also added in their schedule. So I have the dates and the places that they're playing, so I know when I need to be by the TV or at the college, whatever I can do. And then I also added in a little tag to keep the score for each of the games. So when they play games, I will add the date, the score, and whether it was a win or a loss, and then I can keep that right here in this pocket. And so I have all of her game day items with me, and I can start to get to know the team. So join me as we build this little folio that has a couple of pages, a pocket, and a couple more pages. Here we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build our base. So to build the base, I have 6 3x5 cards, and they are, as you can see, perfectly white. So we will be inking these up to make them a little less white. But first I'm just going to start with 2 to make the first flap. And I'm just going to put some tape on here. And then I'm going to put the other piece, when I turn it over, about 1/8 of an inch away or so, to give us some room to fold. And then I'm just going to, actually I think, yeah, for this one, I'm just going to back it here like that, and then I will trim these up. And we have our first fold there. And then I'm going to do the other one, the other fold, and then we'll do the pocket in the middle for our scorecard. So same thing here, just add your tape and put your other card in about 1/8 of an inch. That looks a little bit bigger, but I think that'll be okay. And then we will back that too. And I'm trying to line them up a little bit, but I'm really not getting too crazy about it, because when we cover the cards with our internal pages, our book pages, you're not going to see that too much. Now, all right, so now we have our inner and outer folds, and we need to do our pocket in the middle. So what I'm going to do in the pocket is I'm going to start on the bottom, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start by putting the tape on one side, but instead of putting this 1/8 of an inch away, I'm just going to line the 2 cards up and fold the tape up and seal the bottom up here. And you can tell that's really uneven, but once again, when we get the pages on, you won't see that. Okay. Now I'm going to do the sides of the pocket, and I'm going to do this by folding as well, because we want the pocket to be sealed. And as you see, when I go and do this, I want to be sure that I'm not closing up the pocket. So, which right now I'm not, I don't think I will do that too badly. So you can see, we want to be sure that the pocket is open so that we can get our scorecard tag in there. And once again, trim off the excess. And I'm going to try to get rid of my schniblets here. Okay. So now we have this pocket ready to go, and we can build our base. So we want one flap, one folded flap on each side, so that we can then fold it in. So to do that a little bit easier, I'm just going to put something heavy there so that I can see what I'm doing. And actually, I think I'm going to start with one side again, because that seems to work pretty well. And then I can put the pocket on the other side. Once again, I'm giving it about 1/8 of an inch gap. And for this, I'm going to fold up on both sides because I really want this to be reinforced as best I can. But you'll see we're going to have to do some cutting to make sure our pocket and our flaps are open on both sides. So I'm just making sure my washi tape covers the folds, top and bottom, like that. And then I'm going to take my little straight edge, and in the top of my pocket you can see it's kind of together there, so I want to very gently cut my pocket back open again. And same with our fold, it's a little bit together there because we folded over the tape. So I'm just very gently cutting open the folds on both sides, like so. Okay, so now we have our first flap on, and I'm just going to do the same thing that I did with the other one. We're going to start with a piece of tape on one side, and then we will add our base. And we're going to fold it over, give us some reinforcement. Got a little wrinkle in there. There we go. And then I'm going to add a piece to the middle just to be sure our tape's covered up. And we have a little reinforcement there. And once again, for this side, same thing. I do need to make sure I cut open my folds. And my pocket. Okay, so there we go. Got our pocket at the top and our two folds. So you can see this is how it's going to fold over. Now, because one time when I was doing this, because I've made a couple of these, I ended up putting the band for the closure on the wrong side. I'm going to go like this so that I know what end is up, people. Okay. So now when I put the belly band on, or the closure band, it's not really a belly band, on, I'll make sure I get it on the right side there. Now, before I go any further, I am going to just ink all of the edges of the outside because when I put the pages on that I'm going to put on the inside, these are such a stark contrast, and if I didn't, cut these pages exactly right, which, let's admit, I'm not perfect, then I don't want them to show so much. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink around all of the edges of everything to make sure when I cover the pages, I have that all taken care of. So I'll speed this up for you. Okay, so now I have my whole base inked, and I have my right side up here so I know what I'm doing. Now I'm going to add the band before I cover everything. So the band, the closure band that I want is just a little piece of cardstock, and I'm actually going to cover it with some book paper as well on the inside to cover up our magnet. So let me go ahead and do that. So this is about 1 inch, I think. So this band that I've cut is 2.5 inches by 1 inch. So, oops, I forgot I can't do that. So I'm going to use my I'm only going to cut this about 1 inch, I think. Oops, 1.5 inches, because I don't need to cover part of it that's going to be hidden anyway. So that is not at all the way I wanted to cut. I wanted the words to be, actually, maybe that would be okay. The words can be up and down this way. Yeah. So I'm going to cut this down to about 1.5 inches, and that's going to be my length. And then I will cut this down to 1 inch wide. Actually, I think what I might do is I might just glue it first, because then it'll be easier to trim around it. So let me find my glue stick, and I'm just going to glue up Actually, I shouldn't be doing this yet either. I need to put down my magnet. So I'm going to put my magnet, oops, that's 2 of them, on this as well. And then I'm going to just try to center my cardstock as best I can over that magnet when I push it down. And then I'm going to trim off the paper. Okay, so now we have our magnet in here, nice and hidden. And I'm going to round the corners at the top. So I'm just using my tab board here to round the corners of one end of it. And then I'm going to use my, I don't know what you call this thing. This makes some marks for me. And so I'm going to make sure I have my, my flat end lined up with 0, because what I want to do is I want to come in 1.5 inches and make a mark, and then make an 1/8 of an inch mark. So the very next mark, I'm going to make another mark. So those are going to be our folds for our closure band there. And then I'm just going to give them a fold so that they are ready to go. There we go. So you can see I have a little bit of a fold there, so it's all ready to go. And before I glue it on, once again, I'm going to ink it. And I noticed that it's better to use my some deli paper here to make sure I don't get ink all over my cutting board, because I end up with nice distressed fingers, which, you know, might be all right, but There we go. Okay. Now, we want to make sure we get this band on right, so I have my right side up. And I'm going to close my folder so I know that my band goes on like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up. I think I'm going to do it with my, just the bottom part. So right below the first crease that we made. And this will all be covered by paper as well, but obviously we want to be sure that it's nice and secure. So once again, make sure the right side's up. We got our pocket the right side up. And all you're going to do is you're going to put this band on, and I'm just going to eyeball it and try and wipe some of that glue out of there that just smushed out. And I'm just going to line it up with the end of, or the edge of our pamphlet. And I'm going to try and get some of the glue off my fingers. All right, so let's just hold that in place for just a minute. Let that get nice and secure. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our other magnet on so that we know where to put it. So all I did was I just let it adhere itself to that. And then I'm just going to take some... I'm just going to try to use this solid marker that I have. It's solidified paint. So I just want it to help make a mark as to where it's going to go. So I'm just going to add a little bit of black to the back of that magnet. And then when I fold it over, I'm just going to press down. So hopefully, yep, it gives me a little black mark there. So I know where to glue my magnet on. So once again, I'm just going to use this glue because I want it to go quick. And once again, this will be covered. So we just really kind of want to tack it in place, although I want it to be secure because the paper is going to go over. So I just tried to make sure I flipped it over because I realized the black was up, and I just want to be sure I don't end up, you know, having them not magnetized to each other. Okay. So we got that on, and I'm just going to give this a second to dry. So I'm just going to put this over to the side and kind of let that go for a minute while we talk about the paper. So what I'm going to do is I have 8 book pages that I've cut down to 3 by 5 and have inked up. So that's all of those. And I used American Pep because this is a book I got. It always makes me think of my daughter because she loves this country. And so I always think that she's got American Pep. And then I wanted to use for the outside pages. So for the front page here and for the back of the page, the folio, I wanted to use her school colors. So the college that she's going to, their colors are red and blue. And so I'm going to use these two because they also feel very American as well to go. And they're the Pilgrims, and I think I'm going to put the logo on as well. So I did ink all of those, but I am going to do these. And once again, I'm going to bring my deli paper back because this ink just gets everywhere, which I love because it makes everything look nice and vintage. But it's a mess. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not the ink at all. Maybe it's just me, which is certainly a possibility. All right, so that one's done. Actually, I just want to be real sure that my white edges, every time I cut pages, those white edges just yell at me, so. All right, and then I'm just going to real quick okay, so now I have all my pages distressed, This should be pretty dry. And we're going to cover it anyway, like I said. So, so I'm going to actually start with the back cover, I think. And I couldn't decide which page needs to go where, but I do think I'm going to just print out one of their logos and put it on the front of my folio here. So I think the blue would be a better background if I decide to do that. So I think that's how I'm going to put it on here. So I'm just basically going to glue each page on. I'm going to add my glue and put the page on, and I'm just going to center it as best as I can for this back piece. The other ones we might line up a little bit differently. So for this piece, I'm just going to center it sort of in between the two folds, but in the top and the bottom, I kind of want to see if I can line that up pretty good. So yeah, I think I got that pretty good. And then this one, I want to be sure I'm, you know, as close to the edges as I can be, since I've inked the edges of everything. It should hide a multitude of mistakes, which I'm sure I've made as I've cut things out. So, like I said, folks, this is not my first attempt at making this, because I have definitely screwed another one up. Okay, so we got it towards the edge. Make sure I really tack down around my magnet there. And these glue on my fingers. Okay, and that's just before we go on. I'm just going to make sure my band holds nice. It does. It's very exciting. All right, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to glue one of these to the rest of each of my pages. So I will speed this up and we'll get these glued down. Okay, I'm back. I have glued all of my papers down, my background papers, and I went ahead and printed the team and their schedule just from the college's website onto some coffee dyed paper. And then I just tore them out, inked the edges, and I'm going to start gluing them in just like this. So I'm just going to glue everybody in and glue the schedule in. And I also tore out their logo, and that's what I'm going to add to the front. And then all we'll have left to do is we're going to make a scorecard tag that is going to go right in that pocket there, so that after every game I can write down the score and I'll have it all together in one place. So I'll be right back to show you that. Make sure you tune in to part 2, where I go over how I make the tag and show you the finished product for this junk journal score keeping folio. Thanks for watching.